that was published in Huffington Post. It relates the story of a 34-year-old man called Joe, and how after his mother passed away when he was 3, his dad became hardened and distant. And then at the age of 27, uh, he found himself in deep depression. So this situation of his mother passing away at 3, uh, basically he had to carry that until 27, and he still. That's a long time, 24 years to carry that burden and not having a way to process grief. So we want to talk about the three-part workshop of the self-aware man. Part one, so in that three-part workshop, we're going to look at toxic masculinity. And we talked about, there was a slide earlier on that bit. But we want to discern between fear-based and inspirational-based behavior. Fear-based behavior is controlling, domineering behavior. Inspiration-based behavior is that joy, experiencing that joy with anchoring ourselves to earth and holding that presence and telling the wind and the lightning, bring it on. Flow and connect. I want to share with you a story. I was at a conference, and I was asked to manage all the volunteers at this conference. And it was a conference on science and spirituality. We had some top-notch authors and speakers there. New York Times bestselling authors, Hay House authors. These are the who's who in the metaphysical science and metaphysical industry. There were 1,200 attendees, and we had a lineup of book signing. So I was managing the volunteers, making sure that the volunteers didn't take advantage of their position and sneak into the line. There was this one woman that I got to know for the first time, and she was an attendee. She wasn't one of the volunteers. She was standing in line, and she got a book signed. And then as she left the line, she passed by me. We greeted each other. And then she decided, oh, I have to ask this person a question, the one of the authors. So she started coming back in, and I stopped her. And I said, no, I'm sorry. You have to go back in line. I mean, there were 700 people on that line. And she says, no, I think I can go through this. And I gently put my arm out. And I said, no, you're not going through. Now, she was a very beautiful woman, very attractive. And her intention was to seduce me into allowing her to go there. And I stood there and I didn't waver. And I was very gentle, very compassionate for her. I didn't let her in. And I felt really bad. I said, oh, there goes my chance of asking her out. But I stood there. I said, this is my integrity. So when the conference was over, and I was closing off with the speakers, closing off with the tech people, and coordinating all the volunteers to wrap things up, she comes to me. She says, would you like to go for coffee? And I did. And she relates something to me very interesting. She said, look, when you stood your ground, I felt really connected with you. I felt really attracted to you. So much so that I think we should date a bit. And I thought that threw me for a loop. I didn't realize the effect this has when we stand our grounds. The women of the feminine essence test us. And when they test us and we don't get thrown over, we become more trustworthy for them. So that is basically inspirational-based behavior. Was I did not control it in a fear-based and angrily and saying, you can't go back. I held my compassion. I held my love for her. Said, I'm sorry. This is just the way it is. You'll have to go back in line. That's the inspirational-based behavior that we're going to actually be able to discern. You already have it in you to do that. We're going to actually show you how to replicate it and consciously replicate that. We want to talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability is something that most men that I know anyways, it's very difficult. I mean, I know that it was difficult for me to become more vulnerable, because one of the areas that I struggle with is the being imperfect. If something goes wrong, I take it to heart and I beat myself up. I'm getting better at it. When I now I'm recognizing it and I'm beginning to say, hang on, this is just, I can't be perfect all the time. Uh, my deep-seated belief has been that if I'm not perfect, people won't like me. And so I have to be perfect and I have to be likable. So this is where we talk about vulnerability. When something goes wrong, and you know that that is you played a part in something that went wrong, how do you own up to that? And how much courage can you muster up to own up to that? And it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes masculine courage, man standing on a rock, a mountain, grounded to earth, courage. That's what courage means, because the wind and the lightning coming at you could be quite strong. So this is where we become more vulnerable and yet hold our ground. And of course, we talked about this, generating safety and trust. People, whether it's other men or women, whether they're exhibiting masculine or feminine essence at the time, will connect with you more deeper if they trust you. If you create a safe environment, they will also be able to be more vulnerable with you. When you become vulnerable with others, gives them permission to become vulnerable with you. I've seen instances where strangers in a controlled workshop where I've got them to do some practices, within minutes they really connected, and not romantically per se, but they connected, they got to know each other. I've seen people who have been working together for a long time, in a workplace environment, and I bring them into the workshop and I get them to do a very simple exercise. Within a half an hour, they're discovering something about each other that they had no idea. For years they've been working beside each other. But becoming more vulnerable and allowing yourself to become more vulnerable gives the other person permission to match your vulnerability. And the deeper you go and the more trusting you become, the more open others will become. And that is a recipe for success in all matters, in professional and personal lives. So the Self-Aware Man program, this particular three-part program, is all about helping us cultivate these particular aspects and become more elevated in our masculine essence and expression. So what is the three-part program? Well, this first part is self-awareness. This is your superpower. 80% of all emotional intelligence rests on your ability to be self-aware. 80%. Once you're self-aware, then it's a choice. All right, do I want to continue to do this, or should I pull back? And that is really the today's topic. Second one is vulnerability and the art of deepening relationships. So we're going to be talking about vulnerability in the second part. The third part is generating trust and creating a safe container or a safe space. And that is what helps others flow more, open up to you.